get our dog back.
All right, welcome to Jettisode number 6. Appreciate you tuning in. To all of our visitors and fans of shortfilmtexas.com, I do apologize. It's taken about a week longer than I had anticipated to get this episode up, but I appreciate your patience. I appreciate you sticking in there. And as usual, we always appreciate your visits, your input to the site, your comments, your questions via posting on the site and sending us emails. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to get right to it. We're going to have a topic today, and I'm going to address that second. And we're going to address the first things first. The first order of business is an email from Chris, another soldier, I guess ex-vet, who served in Iraq and Afghanistan from San Antonio. His name is Chris. Chris wants to know basically what a lot of people who are on the fringes of wanting to get into this business want to know. And that is, he has a lot of stories, a lot of things he wants to share creatively with a viewing public and sharing through webisodes, TV, or motion picture. And basically Chris wants to know, how do you do it? What do you do first? And Chris, based on your email, I get the sense that at some point you want to do some acting, you want to do some directing, you want to do some writing. So based on your experiences over there, I would just start keeping a journal of your memories, your thoughts, events, happenings, battles, whatever, some of the highlights, some of the lowlights, and start shaping those into a story. Anytime you're not in the business, I do recommend you taking a class of some sort. It allows you to connect with people who are a little further ahead in their hobby or their career than you are. And a little teaching at the beginning is never harmful at all. Plus, you start to form a circle, a network of folks who are pursuing the same thing or beginners like yourself. So Chris, we're always interested on inside perspective as a viewing audience from people who actually experience war, which I never have. So yeah, take a script writing class, start to write. One thing I did when I first started in the industry and I wanted to understand how to write in script format is I would go online and read scripts. And I would not only read to see kind of what the content was compared to the movie I actually saw at the theater, but I would also read just to see how it's laid out, because it's very different than just writing an essay or a book or a novel. The format is very specific, very different than, in other words, you were never taught how to write scripts in school. So that's where I would begin, plus you're going to begin that network of getting to know people who, like you, want to put things on film. All right, so Chris, thanks for your service, thanks for the time, thanks for the visit, and if you have any more questions, more specific about anything at all, just keep shooting us emails, posting on shortfilmtexas.com, and we'll get to it. Now, the next topic is extremely indigenous to Texas filmmakers. However, it does have application and ramifications and should have interest for anyone in the world because more and more governments are going to start doing this. In the state of Texas, about 7 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, Austin was the hotbed of the filmmaking industry in the United States outside of Hollywood. And by being on a couple big projects, by knowing a lot of people in the industry who actually live in Hollywood and actually make a full-time living in Hollywood, they love coming to Austin. It's a great town, great city, and the surrounding areas as well. Texas has always been a favorite of Hollywood to make movies, not just Westerns, all films. And unfortunately, New Mexico and Louisiana implemented pretty aggressive tax break programs that drew probably about $100 million or more in budgeted films over the last 4 to 5 years away from Texas and into Louisiana and New Mexico. So basically, we very recently, passed the bill for Texas filmmaking incentives. The bill is called HB 873. Now, my resource on this particular topic is Paul Alvarado-Dykstra. A lot of you know Paul. He is a gentleman here in Austin who is very supportive of as much filmmaking to be made here in Texas as possible. He was a key instrument to having this bill go through, having it proposed, written, and so forth. And he's also part of the Ville of Muse project here in Austin, or Central Texas, or I should say Texas, because we don't know where it's going to be, which is going to be just a massive studio for Hollywood studios to use for sound recording, filmmaking, etc. Basically, the bill passed. The government is, and I'm not going to go into the specific and the details because you can find plenty of that online, but it is a very aggressive incentive program for Texas to utilize to lure the Hollywood films and the studios to bring their projects back here. And the real question is, that we're receiving from all of you is, how does this impact us talent and our crew? And I'm just going to quote a paragraph from Paul. So, quoting Paul, and here goes Paul. As for your questions, there is indeed a much bigger overall incentive for productions to hire more local Texas cast and crew than there was previously. The program offers productions the choice to calculate the incentive based either on total in-state spending or specifically on wages paid to Texas residents. But either way, productions are required to hire at least 70% of their cast and crew locally, that being Texas residents, to qualify for the incentive program. That is, at least 70% of the paid cast, extras, must be Texas residents, as well as 70% of the paid crew must be Texas residents. And above and beyond that, the more Texans a production hires, the bigger an incentive they get. Also, there is no longer any overall cap on the incentive. There is a $1 million per worker cap, which could potentially benefit local Texas cast and crew versus big name expensive LA talent. So, it is great. Not only is this going to jumpstart Texas, Texas getting Hollywood big studio pictures here again, but they are required and rewarded if they go above and beyond. They're required to make 70% of paid cast and crew Texas residents, and then they get even more incentive by voluntarily going over that. So this is a great bill. This bill could not be any better for someone like myself or people living in Texas, whether they're crew, talent, wannabe extras, whatever. So the passing of this bill, it's going to have a trickle-down effect. So we'll all see the benefits, and hopefully the people in charge, the casting directors here, the agents, the producers and ADs, all the crew that live here in Austin and other cities in Texas will take advantage of this, open up the doors, and casting directors specifically here in Austin will actually see the talent that lives here versus your favorite people that you see on a regular basis. That's all I have, guys. Once again, we do appreciate you tuning in. I want to say thanks, and I'm sorry this is such a long episode, but it's a very complicated issue, and you all wanted to know how this affects you. And I want to thank Paul Alvarado-Dykstra, not only a professional associate of mine, but a friend, for taking the time to give us the specific information on how this is going to affect me and you, residents of Texas, and people all over the world. These are the things. This was a bill that was generated by concerned actors and crew members living in Texas. And they came together, wrote their senators, and it happened because of citizens. So citizens can make a difference. And Paul Alvarado, along with your entire fabulous team who made this happen, and all the politicians who made this happen, thanks so much. Guys, peace out. If you're in Austin, enjoy the hot weather. It's May, and we're almost near 100. Peace out. Thanks for watching.